Philadelphia 76ers vs Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets have won 4 of their last 5 games. They are playing well offensively, scoring more than 118 points per game, while making 52% of their shots in their last 3 games. They also shot the ball well from long distance, making over 46% of their three-pointers. They've taken advantage of their opportunities at the charity stripe, making over 82% of their free throws during that span. They do a good job finding the open man, and they're very aggressive on the offensive glass, which will give them more scoring chances. The 76ers usually play well defensively, but they aren't as good on the road, and they gave up over 120 points in their last 2 road games, so expect them to have a hard time slowing down the Nuggets in this game. The 76ers have lost 3 of their last 4 games. They usually play well offensively, but they struggle during their slump, scoring 111 points per game in their last 3 games. They don't rebound the ball as well as the Nuggets and won't get a lot of extra scoring chances against them. They've also been careless with the ball on the road, which will lead to easy scoring opportunities for the Nuggets, who average more than 7 steals per game. The Nuggets are playing well defensively and held their last 3 opponents under 105 points per game, so expect them to keep Philadelphia's offense in check. Go with Denver to cover the spread. Despite their efficient offense, Denver has gone under the point total in 5 straight games and 2 of the last 3 at home. The defense has held their opponent to 106 points or less in each of the last 3 games and 4 of the last 5. The combined score has failed to go over 232 points in 6 of their last 7 games. Philadelphia has gone under the point total in 3 of their previous 4 contests and even managed to go under in an overtime loss to the Bulls last week. Their defense has been stingy all season, currently ranking 3rd in points allowed per game, 110.5. Denver currently ranks 25th out of 30 NBA teams in pace of play, and the 76ers are dead last. Expect these solid defenses to turn it up a notch in this potential finals preview. Look for this game to go under the point total. Minnesota Timberwolves vs Sacramento Kings. Wins are coming for the Kings, and when they do Portland, San Antonio on deck, the Pacific Division crown will be there waiting for them. Sure, it would be nice to clinch it as soon as possible, but Minnesota's proven to be a bad matchup for Sacramento on 3 separate occasions this year, and this is still a 3rd game in 4 nights for the Kings as well. The fact that Sacramento has a losing ATS record, 13-14-1 ATS, as a home favorite this year, adds a little more concern, as does the fact that the Kings are 7-14 Austrian shillings this season when owning the rest advantage, posting an average margin of victory in those games of -2. Technically this is a rest advantage spot for the Kings, but fatigue could also hit them harder, as they are the ones that have played twice in the past 72 hours, while Minnesota's only hit the court once. All of that adds up to me liking the points with the road team here, even if they are coming off that impressive win last night. The defense Minnesota put out there in the second half against the Warriors was really quite special, and with much more urgency for a positive result on their sideline, if Minnesota brings that defense with them to Sacramento, another outright win should be in the cards. Our team pick is Minnesota. The last time Minnesota was coming off a game where they scored fewer than 100 points, Timberwolves fans saw 247 points get scored in a 124-123 loss to the Brooklyn Nets earlier this month. Scoring less than 100 is not a common thing for Minnesota this year, as last night was just the 5th time they've done so this year, 2-2-0. Having Karl Anthony Towns back healthy has allowed Minnesota's defensive play to pick up, but they haven't had consecutive sub-100 point efforts all year long, and against this Kings team that's got the top-ranked defense on the other side, all I see is a boatload of points being scored in this contest. Minnesota is 7-5-0 this year when playing without rest, but the best part of that record is the fact that they've got a plus 7.9 total plus in those games. Clearing those numbers by nearly 8 points a game gives over bettors multiple possessions to work with in that regard. Furthermore, it's not like Sacramento is a team that's interested in playing much defense to begin with, and the Kings adopting a strategy where they look to play fast early and often to tire out this Minnesota team that played last night is highly probable. Sacramento's 18-10 OU is a home favorite this year with a plus 7.4 total plus margin themselves. Give me the over. New Orleans Pelicans vs Portland Trail Blazers. The Pelicans have won 5 of the last 6 meetings between these teams, including going 9-4 ATS in the last 13 meetings. They are 4-0 ATS in their last 4 games overall, and are 4-0 Austrian shillings in their last 4 games when playing on 1 day's rest. The Trailblazers are 1-5 ATS in their last 6 games and have lost 5 straight games against the spread at home. This Trailblazers team is struggling right now. They have lost 5 of their last 7 games by at least 14 points. New Orleans is coming off a historic performance and should dominate Portland on the glass. Our team pick is New Orleans Pelicans at -8.5 points. New Orleans tied a franchise record in this contest, hitting 21 three-pointers to down the Clippers by 21. The Pelicans finished 21-34, 61.8% from three-point range, and hit 53.1% of their shots overall. They also out-rebounded Los Angeles 45-31. Trey Murphy and Brandon Ingram each had 32 points in the contest as the two combined to go 23-36. The historic performance was out of the ordinary for this team, as New Orleans is 16th in three-point percentage this season, 36.0%, but they are now hitting 44.0% of their last 5 games and are hitting 34.9% of their three-point attempts on the road. This is a solid rebounding team, averaging 43.6 per game, including 44.0 per game over their last 5. The Pelicans are averaging 114.2 points per game. Portland took a 12-point lead in the first quarter, only to see OKC battle back to take a 6-point lead heading into the half. The Trailblazers were able to cut the deficit to 4, but the Thunder rolled in the final quarter to earn the 6-point victory. Sheedon Sharp scored 29 points, hitting 9 of 13 shots, and went 8-11 from the free throw line. Portland is allowing 116.2 points per game this season, while the offense is averaging 114.2 points per game. However, the offense is struggling of late, averaging just 108.8 points per game over their last 5 games. They have been held to 112 points or fewer in 7 of their last 9 games. Our total: Chicago Bulls vs Los Angeles Clippers. Give me the Bulls here. These two teams are headed in opposite directions, as the Bulls have won 7 of 9 and are surging, while the Clips seem to be unraveling by the day. Los Angeles has struggled since Paul George went down last week, and they just got blown out by the Pelicans in their most recent game. Chicago is playing with a ton of juice right now, and their only recent losses came to very good Kings and 76ers teams. Zach LaVine is playing out of his mind and is averaging over 30 points per game in March, while shooting better than 45% from beyond the arc. Russell Westbrook is unsurprisingly struggling with his shot, and he's not going to be the one to pick up the slack in PG's absence. And looking around their roster, I'm not sure if anyone will. Our team pick is Bulls spread. This season certainly hasn't gone as planned for the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls had high aspirations, but their season was derailed before it even began when Lonzo Ball failed to recover as anticipated from his knee injury. Ball hasn't played all season, and the team hasn't been the same since he went down last year. Chicago is just 36-38, and they're currently in 10th place in the Eastern Conference. All that being said, they've been playing a lot better recently. Entering this one, they've won 7 of their past 9 games to essentially clinch their spot in the play-in tournament, and their only 2 losses in that span were to the Kings and 76ers, who are both playing great. The Bulls just beat the Lakers by double digits on the road their last time out, and the signing of Patrick Beverley has given them a much-needed boost of energy and intensity. Pat Bev was trolling the Lakers all game long on Sunday, and he'll surely relish the opportunity to get under the skin of another one of his old teams here against the Clippers. Speaking of teams who aren't having the kind of season that they imagined, the Los Angeles Clippers have been a pretty big disappointment as well. The Clippers' plan to load manage their way through the regular season didn't go as expected, and it's felt like a very rare occasion when they've had their full team together. Now, with a stretch run coming up and their season hanging in the balance, Paul George is on the shelf again after injuring his knee this past week. It's going to be tough to manage without him, and the vibes around the team are terrible at the moment. The Clips have lost 3 of 5, and that's despite playing a pretty easy slate of opponents. Those 5 games came against the Magic, Trailblazers, Thunder twice and Pelicans. Not exactly a murderer's row. Their last time out they got embarrassed on their home court by the Pelicans, who smoked them by 21. Bones Highland was the team's leading scorer with 18 points off the bench, which tells you everything you need to know. The under also makes a lot of sense in this spot. I was already starting to get worried about the Clippers' offense even before the Paul George injury, and now it has the potential to get really ugly. In their most recent game, their leading scorer was Bones Highland, who had 18 off the bench. Kawhi Leonard shot 4/16 from the floor in that one, and the Bulls are starting to step up their defensive intensity at the right time. Chicago has given up just 204 points over their last 2 games, and they've given up 108 or fewer in 4 of their past 5, with the only exception being the 76ers. Both of these teams could really use a win here, so the physicality should be cranked up a notch.